Generally, it's hard to make a lot of money when you're selling to consumers. It's not impossible, but it is hard. Whereas it's very easy to make a lot of money when you're selling to businesses. But most normal people don't think about selling to businesses because that's just kind of weird. Like, what do you mean selling to businesses? Like, what? And we're all so familiar with thinking like consumers because we are consumers. We are normal people. And so we think about selling stuff to normal people like ourselves. Well, okay, like let's say tutoring agency. I was like, okay, cool. Let's say you start a tutoring company. How might that make you an extra 150K a year in your spare time? And he was like, well, I guess I could open a tutoring center and I guess I could charge £10 an hour per student. And so I was like, okay, that's like an extra, basically 15K a month. Cool. So how many students would you need to get an extra £15,000 a month? I kind of did the maths and it's like, okay, damn, I would need 1,500 students a month paying £10 an hour, assuming they were doing 1 hour a month in order to get that money. I was like, okay, cool. What if they were doing like 4 hours? What if we're doing an hour a week? Now it's like, okay, cool. Now I need like 500 students who are paying me £10 to do an hour a week. 500 students is a lot of students. How are you going to find 500 students? How are you going to stick them in a center? Is it going to be Zoom? Is it going to be real life? And it's like, we start to get into all these things. How are you going to facilitate them? How are you going to, these are kids that we're talking about. So we're going to have to think about freaking hiring X number of teachers for every one kid. And suddenly we eat into our margins. And all of a sudden this becomes a real total freaking nightmare of a business to run if you're trying to do it in your spare time. Because this guy had a job. And so we're like, okay, starting a tutoring business, maybe not the thing. What else could you do to make that 150K? And then he threw out a few other ideas. He was like, oh, I suppose, I know a lot about like safeguarding, which is this thing that schools have to do. If like a child says something that like implies there's some sort of child safety concern, then the person who's in charge of safeguarding has to report it and log it and stuff. And he was like, Ali, you've got online courses. Could I teach an online course about safeguarding? And I was like, thankfully, I didn't have to say anything because the guy sitting next to me was like, bruv, no one's going to buy an online course about safeguarding. Like, no one cares. And I was like, yeah, pretty spot on. No one cares. Other than people who are literally in that job title in schools, but they already have their training. So like, it would be, again, really hard to make that business work. And then it was black. Like, clearly, he just didn't know what are the options. Like, how do you even theoretically make 200K a year or make 10K a month or 15K a month from a business? He just had absolutely no freaking idea. This is very normal. This is something I see a lot in people that I speak to, which is that there is this like broad goal of, I want to be financially free, I want to make money and stuff. And then they have absolutely no idea what the map or the terrain even looks like to get there. For John, I suspect the only exposure he had to entrepreneurship was watching like Dragon's Den on TV when he was younger, or maybe watching The Apprentice on TV when he was younger. Dragon's Den is like the UK version of Shark Tank, if you're familiar with Shark Tank. These are like entertainment shows rather than actually business education-y type shows.